Welcome to this special edition of the Inspiring Entrepreneurs podcast, created to celebrate Global Entrepreneurship Week 2024 at the University of Strathclyde. I'm Katy McNair, Marketing and Communications Manager for Strathclyde Inspire. As Scotland's leading entrepreneurial campus, we are constantly striving to develop a talent pipeline that will result in the start-up and spin-out successes of the future by offering students extracurricular opportunities to develop their entrepreneurial mindset and skills. So for us, Global Entrepreneurship Week was a fantastic opportunity to bring together a diverse and complementary group from Inspire student ambassadors to Strathclyde academics, members of our business ecosystem, as well as some of our up-and-coming startup and spin-out entrepreneurs in order to share knowledge, kickstart conversations, invite in a few new faces, and forge connections among our community. Hosting 6 events across 5 days, a particular highlight was being able to record a live podcast in front of an audience of women at the Student Union in order to celebrate Women in Entrepreneurship Day. We had a fantastic panel of speakers, including Bayile Adeoti, founder of Dechomai, Kayla-Megan Burns, founder of Podplistic, and Ruby Allan, Strathclyde Inspire student ambassador. So we were ideally placed to discuss how forward thinking can help women to achieve their ambitions and to offer some personal stories, food for thought, and a few great pieces of advice. So we really hope that you enjoy this special edition of the Inspiring Entrepreneurs podcast. And we would encourage you to continue the conversation by leaving us a review wherever you listen to this podcast and by recommending us to anyone who you think would enjoy listening. Both of these really help to put us in front of new audiences. So thank you.
Okay, so I purposely not said too much about who everyone is because that's going to be my first question. Thank you very much for joining us today. And if you wouldn't mind, it'd be great if you could start by just telling us a little bit about who you are and your journey thus far.
Okay, my name is Bayile Adeoti. I'm the founder of Dechomai. We're a social enterprise. And for those who don't know, a social enterprise is a business that reinvests its profits back into a social cause. That's something, a social or environmental cause, and that can be whatever you care about. I care about equality for women particularly, and for ethnic minorities when it comes to accessing opportunities, particularly in entrepreneurship. I never, and like probably many of you in this room, I never saw myself as an entrepreneur. I took part in something at school when I was about 16, and it was the Young Enterprise Company program. It showed me that I wasn't really academic, but I was good at other things, and entrepreneurship unlocked that for me. So when I told my dad I wanted to be an entrepreneur, I wanted to have my own business, he said, "No, Bayile, we don't know people from Black communities with their own business. Go and study computer science." So I went to study computer science, hated it, was good at it, but I hated it. It didn't fill me with any passion whatsoever. And I went to work, I went to actually hide at my part-time job in McDonald's. So I'd leave the house and pretend that I was going to college. And it was only after my dad found out that I wasn't going to where I was meant to be that we decided that I could go and study business. And that's where my entrepreneurial journey started. I worked for other small businesses, supporting them, and then I launched Dechomai after.
Okay, brilliant. I love the idea of you hiding in McDonald's. I love McDonald's. And Kayla, if you wouldn't mind doing the same, please.
Yeah. So my name is Kayla-Megan Burns, and I'm the founder of Podplistic. Originally, my journey actually started, I was a student here at Strathclyde. I studied biomedical science, but I kind of knew by second year that lab life wasn't for me. Similarly to yourself, it was the situation of, no, our family haven't got to go to university to get before. This is a privilege.
Yeah.
Go study something smart. You're good at science, do science.
Yeah.
And then go and get a good job, something secure, something reliable, something that people need. And so I went off and did that. And by second year, I knew that it really wasn't for me. Academically, it wasn't really a problem, but the actual day-to-day, it didn't thrill me, is what we'll say. So actually, I was stopped outside the sports centre here at Strathclyde in my second year in the run-up to student elections. And literally, someone from the Student Union went, "Oh, you're in every student society. You do loads on campus. You'd be great at this. You should run for the Student Union." And I just went, okay. Nominated myself for election there and then, spent 2 years in the Students' Union, became the Students' President, did some work with the New York Times, became a member of their Generation Climate for the COP26, and then eventually returned to my degree because it was a luxury, I suppose. It was quite a privilege to get to go to university and to get a degree. So I went back, I returned to my studies in my third year, and my funding had been cut. I don't have family support. I didn't have other funding support. So I had to figure a way to make that work in order to go back and get that degree. So Ross, who was sitting in the room behind the camera, we met, and he'd recently graduated from music and music business at UWS. It was during the pandemic. There was no jobs in that area going. So we had a conversation and went, okay, what if we just made jobs for ourselves? What if we just gave this a go? And my goal was to get some pocket money to get me through the degree. Ross just wanted something to keep himself going in between this pandemic blip. And actually, ta-da, we're doing the podcast today. We've been doing this for a while now. And whenever I graduated last year, it was the moment of, great, is this scalable? Can I do this full time? This is really cool. I really like it. And the answer was no. It wasn't scalable. And so, again, instead of taking that no, I went back and spoke to as many businesses as I could that did podcasting. Because we started off as a broad kind of media production company, niched in podcasting, and I spoke to as many as possible to see if it was scalable. Again, their answer was no. And so I'd actually stumbled upon a problem within an industry, which I'm now building software in order to solve. And we're working with some really cool global clients, specifically designing software in that niche. So yeah, an unconventional journey, unplanned entrepreneurship for sure, but an exciting one.
It sounds like both of your families were trying to do a bit of forward thinking on your behalf. But the person who has to figure it out is the person driving the car, really, because you can do all the forward thinking you like, but if it doesn't feel right, you have to choose a different path. Yeah. How about you, Ruby?
So I'm a student here at Strathclyde. I study international business with marketing and enterprise. I'm also an ambassador for Strathclyde Inspire. I got involved with the Exploring Entrepreneurship Challenge, which is how I got involved with Strath Inspire initially. I'm also part of the Women in Leadership Committee and Marketing Society Committee, and currently just kind of navigating what I want to do in my career and what industry I want to go into, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to as well.
Great, thank you very much. So forward thinking can mean different things to different people, whether you're an entrepreneur or a student or a leader in a community. How much do you find yourself using forward thinking in your roles, and in what way? And I'll start maybe with Ruby this way and work back.
So as a student, I think it's really important to get forward thinking into your mindset as soon as possible, because all you have to go from here is forward, and kind of creating those building blocks for different opportunities to build your career, and kind of think preemptively what I'm going to do to have the most experience. And so for me, in my roles for forward thinking, I think, how can I make the most of this opportunity? How can I improve something or find a solution, and kind of show to potential employers that I've actively tried to improve and use innovative mindset to bring that to the opportunity that I have. So yeah.
I would say that, having known you for the period of time that I have, you very much seem someone who is willing to give something a go, who will see an opportunity and step forward and say, I quite like to do that. I think I could offer something. You're great with people and getting other people inspired to do things. And that was one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the panel today, because even though, like you say, from here, it's all forward, it already feels like you are constructing those building blocks. You are looking around you and thinking, well, okay, I've got my degree experience, but what else can I bolt onto that so that in the future I'm going to have all of these things to talk about. I'm going to have all of these skills to bring to the fore when I'm pursuing what I want to do. And I think it's really inspirational.
Yeah, this is one of the examples, like me doing this panel right here, of kind of making the most of an opportunity. It's not what I initially thought would be involved, being an ambassador, but it's something that I was really have to take on and have a part of my skill set and experience.
Ruby Allan, public speaker. As of today. Okay, Kayla, how about you? How do you go about using forward thinking in what you do?
So actually, what is quite funny, and I'm going to put my hands up here and say that right before we sat down, I literally made the argument that actually I don't believe that I do use forward thinking, because of exactly what you're saying. In my career to date, I've shown up and just given things a go. Like, yeah, there's an opportunity. Let's go for it. Let's chance it. Let's see what I can make of it. Is it for me? Is it not for me? And I found that to be a really good opportunity to actually learn and understand my own skill set, learn what I enjoy, learn what I'm good at, and also learn how best my skills and time are used. Because this is the thing, getting a degree is really useful. I'm going back and I'm saying it is a privilege to study, one that all of us in the room have been afforded, and don't get me wrong, it's really, really beneficial. But actually, it doesn't teach you what you're good at. It doesn't teach you that skill set. It teaches you some skills, but it doesn't teach you how you can best utilize them and how you can then create opportunities out of that. And so that's exactly what it is with giving things a go and going for it and putting yourself out there. So 100%, I'm all for that. And I think then once you find your niche, so for example, I stumbled into, there's a massive problem in the podcasting industry. I think I can solve that. I'm not technical. I didn't let that hold me back. And so instead I dove straight into that problem and went, right, I found the problem. Who has the problem? Who's willing to pay for the problem? Is there any leverage which will make people therefore pay for a solution? What does that solution look like? And how do I create a path in order to get there? And that is where the forward thinking comes in. It's the how do I get there that you begin to really map out that forward thinking. Because 100%, I started giving things a go, found this niche, and then it's really leaning into that. Right, here it is. Fine, let's create where do I want to get to, and let's work back from that over the next. Do I have a 10-year ambition? Am I going to create a big mad goal now? I love a big mad audacious goal. And working back from that. And that's definitely where forward thinking comes in to me. And for business, I don't know about yourself, but 100%, that's what I've nearly found people are most keen for.
Yeah.
Let's go for a crazy ambition. And actually, the forward thinking, where it really comes into it, is how do I work back from that to where I am right now and create right up from the big mad 10-year goals right to what am I doing this week? What am I doing for the next 12 months? What do I need to achieve within this quarter in order to make that goal a reality?
Thank you very much. How about you? What do you think? Do you agree?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think what Kayla said is, as an entrepreneur, it is about vision is a big thing. Once you have a vision for your life, the type of life that you want to live, and a vision for your business, you see the end in mind and you do just work your way backwards. And I also, like yourself, see every room as a room full of opportunity. So before I go into a room, I think, okay, and the opportunity was like, yeah, I'm going to a podcast, I'm going to inspire people. And it's not even like inspiring you guys in the room. I'm thinking about the people that are going to hear the podcast after. And when it's on the library, even those who are going to hear it in 2 years' time that can stumble upon this. So I'm thinking about impacting people in the future. Having audacious goals is so important. My friend has this audacious goal of empowering 1 million women to start a tech business by 2030. And she said, "And what's yours?" And she's working back and she's like going, so my audacious vision was like for Dechomai to be an international business. So we're replicating ourselves internationally and making sure that we empower people. So I had actually set the goal for 250,000 by 2030. And we're ready. This year we established Dechomai Ghana, and by 2025 we're looking for Kenya, Uganda and Nigeria to also be on the map. I think it is really, really important just to have a goal, create a vision board for yourself and think about those audacious goals and even just think forward. I think when we were just doing the little soundbite earlier on, what helps me with forward thinking is I like to learn even though I said that I'm not academic, I like to learn from other people and see that room full of opportunity, learn from other people, learn from people who aren't in the same degree as you. So one day go and find out if you're not in this building, what do the engineers do? What problems are they solving? And find out from other people, medical, biomedical, find out what they're doing. And that will help inspire you too. Kayla's parents, like my dad, saw software engineering as and he said, this is the thing that's going to be in the future, Bayile, and you should be right at that, like at the start, embracing it. And that's what he saw, just like your family too. And that's what also enabled me to think, okay, what are the trends? So right now, everyone's talking about AI. If you're not into AI right now, please go home and start even just learning a little bit. Mess about with Canva. Canva's got a nice AI feature. Start doing things with AI. And even just with that forward thinking, I was just saying to Ruby, over the past 4 weeks, I've started up another company, and I'm actually doing a challenge called CivTech. It's a government-funded challenge, and we're looking at how AI can help enable more startup entrepreneurs in Scotland. Had I not fought forward and thought, how can AI help me? Then I don't think I would ever have started this second company or even got through the challenge. But it's because I'm always thinking forward and looking forward and thinking, what opportunities are there in the future?
That's interesting. I think that is a perspective on forward thinking that I didn't necessarily have before we started this conversation, because I think I was thinking of that traditional forward thinking. I have a 5-year plan. So what am I going to do in year 1? What am I going to do in year 2? Am I keeping sight of what that plan is and the things I'm agreeing to do and not getting distracted? Am I feeling like I'm making progress? Is this still relevant to me? But the way you talk about it there, it's actually about scanning the horizon and thinking, okay, what is there? What do I think is going to be important in the future? And I'm going to start folding that in to my plan. So that's another way of thinking about it. And I have a 9-year-old daughter, and they are starting to go, well, how will I know what I want to be when I grow up? And I'm thinking, wow, you're already thinking about this at school. What am I going to be when I grow up? And I think, I'm 43 and I'm still figuring out what I want to be when I grow up. But it happens, and I'm saying to them, I don't think you need to don't pick a subject and think, well, this is the thing. Find out what interests you, find out what you're like, because everything is changing so fast that the main thing you can do is try and focus on things you enjoy, try and make sure you understand how to be a forever learner, because we're all going to have to adapt and change and adapt and change. And when you're trying to figure out what you want to be, trying to plan it now is not going to help you by the time you can actually be it, because the landscape will have changed.
Yeah.
So being okay with a bit of ambiguity is probably as well a big thing that entrepreneurs have to deal with. But that's a whole other conversation. So with so much focus on the future, it can be easy to get caught up and miss out on the present. How do you balance focusing on the future with the day-to-day demands of running a business? And this is a question for you, Kayla.
Oh, wow. Very specifically targeted, but actually I think it's extremely relevant, because just like yourself, I'm running 2 companies. So right now, these cameras, these microphones, this is one company that I run called Podplistic. We do just bricks and mortar media production. That got me through the degree. That was the purpose of it. That is very here and now. It's very practical. This is going to generate some revenue, and it's going to, do what it needs to do. We need to focus on bringing on clients, and we need to focus on that day-to-day stuff. Whereas Podplistic, which is that AI-enabled podcast production software, is exactly what we're developing. This is the 10-year scalable. So it's nearly like in both businesses, and I'm not sure if you're the same, but in both businesses, there's 2 entirely different elements. One which is, this is the day-to-day, this is the here and now. I need to think about how I'm going to keep the lights on. I'm going to need to think about how we do all of that and serve our clients appropriately and meet those needs. Whereas in the other one, it's, okay, how are we going to build this to meet the needs of organizations, particularly working with enterprise companies in 10 years' time? And those are it's nearly like 2 entirely different gears for you to work in. And it's a little bit of shifting. And actually one of the most practical tools that I have in my arsenal for shifting between those 2 gears is actually, it sounds so simple, but diary blocking. Like if you haven't read about it before, definitely recommend getting into it now. If you read about the makers and the manager's mindset, because there's a lot of writing about how those are two entirely different modes. If you're in the maker mode, then you need a good 5 hours to actually really dig into anything and really make that stamp. And whereas the manager, you're looking at 1 hour blocks. I can meet someone here, I'm going to do this project there, and then at the end of the day, I have another hour or two to do this thing. That doesn't work for the maker, because it takes so much more time to get into things. You need a big vision. You need, the time to really dig into things. And the more that you dig, the more that you're going to uncover, and the more that you're going to need to delve into each of these different strands. So 100% being aware of that maker's and manager's mindset, and actually divvying up your days and being really conscious of that, of, you know what, today's a maker's day. My emails aren't being opened, and that's fine. And I'm going to have an out of office that says, listen, I'm going to have, particularly as a founder, I don't know about you, but I work on conventional hours. I'm going to respond to you. I don't expect a reply outside of your normal working cycles, but bear with me, on conventional hours. And so I mightn't touch my emails for a day. And don't get me wrong, that totally irritates some people. So the people that it irritates, they have my phone number. But 100%, some days the emails aren't touched. This is a maker's day. I am building something. We were looking at a strategic plan. We're looking at strategic vision. I specifically got up early this morning to have a maker's morning and put those few hours out, because I knew that today was going to be a manager's day. Because this is one of the few hours blocks. So really making sure that you're conscious of that, and actually putting the time aside to really build something cool, because you need to be so conscious of your building, because otherwise you can go, I'm building this cool thing, and you can put in some foundations for it. But if you don't deliberately set time aside for that visioning, for that building, for that deliberate, here we are, forward thinking, it just doesn't happen, because the day-to-day can just take over. You can become obsessed with, okay, we've got a few more clients, we're going to get some more revenue in. That's great, because that's the here and now, and it can consume all of your time. So that really deliberate visioning, planning, scheduling for me.
And so you're talking about focusing on 2 companies, but then there can be so many other variables that get thrown into that mix. So I'm wondering, as women are obviously often juggling multiple roles, there's lots of things that women are getting involved with that perhaps you might not traditionally see men getting involved with. How can forward thinking help balance the sort of personal and the professional commitments? And maybe if, as you were talking about having a family, that might be something you could comment on.
So I've got a 7-year-old son, and he is my number one priority, and so is my husband. But he relies on me so much, and what I want him to do is remember Mummy was always there. So I will be there at the school gates, waiting 20 minutes before the bell goes. I want him to see my car right at the front and know Mummy actually stopped. So I do, like yourself, diarize. This week, that's gone out the window because of this challenge that I'm doing. So my husband's at home helping me, but Micah's loving it, because he's like, oh, Mummy and Daddy, this is the week where Mummy and Daddy are doing half and half, and not just Mummy. But also recognizing the diaries, where is the intense week. So last week, I'm also a trustee for a charity, and we had a fundraising night on Friday night. But I was like, Saturday, Micah, it's you and me. Mummy's going to the cinema. We're going to go to the cinema. And he actually said, Mummy, is it okay instead if I have my friends over? So I was like, all right, okay. So we're not going to chill in the cinema. So I can just take everything in. I'm going to have 3 kids running around my house, making lots and lots of noise. But the other thing that I recognize too is a noisy home is a happy home. And that's what I see it as. I'd rather him making noise with his friends in my house and saying, oh, my mum's so cool and so fun. So I think it's really important to recognize your priorities. A business, you'll chase the money, you'll chase the fame, you'll chase so much, but at the end of it, will you still be happy? And at the end of it, I think if I was to step away from both businesses, I still have my husband and son there. And I also need to recognize it, because I'm building something, then I need to make sure my family home is also secure and is also stable, and they'll be cheering me on. And there are times when I'll say, you're coming to work with Mummy so you can see what Mummy does, and taking him on that journey too. But like my week can be so hectic that my son, all he thinks I do is I teach boys and girls how to make money. That's all. So what I'm doing here with you, he'll be like, why did you go meet them? They're not young boys and girls. He thinks I just deal with primary school kids, teaching them about entrepreneurship. So when I'm doing other things, he looks at me like, who are you? Like, where is my mum? She's only meant to focus on young people, but it's trying to help him understand that I'm also teaching you about entrepreneurship. I'm teaching you how to work and showing you different ways of life. And I think that's really important. Carry everyone along on the journey as you're marching and racing forward.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And having these kind of platforms and conversations with a group of people who maybe wouldn't have met unless they had come along to this today can really change what the next step is going to be. And I really value the opportunity to offer that to you. That's one of the reasons why I was inspired to join Strathclyde Inspire, because I'm very much someone who thinks that a degree is fabulous, and I really value the skills that I learned in terms of subject knowledge, but I also think there's so much value to be had from the people you meet and the extra things you do around that might find you bringing them along, or they might bring you along into the next great ambition or the next great goal. So having people to support you.
Can I just add what's happened? So I've only been in this room, I don't know what time it is because I don't have a watch, but I was talking with Ruby just at the seat, and the lovely lady behind us, I could see she was listening in, and we got her involved in the conversation. Do you know what's just happened there? She's coming to Dechomai for a paid work experience.
Amazing.
And that was just through an organic. I wasn't coming here looking for anyone to come, but because of like what her master's was, it was an entrepreneurship innovation at Strathclyde. The project that we're working in, particularly the project that she's coming on for the next 6 weeks, is with Strathclyde University. So like, what better? I sent Manish a picture saying, can you believe like we're also supporting someone on the entrepreneurial journey before they go back? So
Perfect.
those opportunities, those conversations.
Okay, yeah, already making change.
Exactly.
That's brilliant. And that probably leads me on to my next question, this idea of community and connection also being an important part in helping to foster forward thinking among groups. So I'm wondering what role you think female-led groups or initiatives play in helping women think ahead. And I know, Ruby, that you're involved in a couple of societies that might help you answer that question. So
Yeah, so I'm involved with the Women in Leadership Society, and that's the first society that I went to where I felt really comfortable and an overwhelming sense of support, and just having these other women with shared experiences, being able to like bounce ideas off of each other and kind of encourage each other to go for what you want. It can be quite daunting in certain spaces and industries when they are male dominated, and sometimes you just need that space where you have other women that can 100% relate, and we can, encourage each other within those spaces. And then there's also the marketing society that I'm a part of, which is mixed, but it's predominantly female led. And again, because we are all doing marketing and have similar interests in what careers we want to go into, it's great to have that kind of community around you to support you, and kind of knowing that you're not alone in the struggles of finding internships and doing this report that's really difficult, or studying for exams and all the things you have to juggle. And yeah, so I think, but they're really, really important in me to think, what can I do, and being inspired by these women as well, giving me ideas of like how I can forward myself in my career experiences that I could get, because they've taken them on and they're kind of sharing their experiences with me as well.
So yeah, fantastic. Moving along, I'm going to ask what strengths that you feel women bring to the table in envisaging the future of business. Anyone who feels equipped to answer that question, go. Go on, Nat.
So I feel wild that I'm jumping in to answer this. I'm pretty confident I'm the only person on the panel that doesn't identify as a woman. So here we go. But being raised female, there is something I can't tell you what it is, but statistically, women build better businesses. women build way better businesses. If you're going down the pathway that I'm going, where we're looking at investment and large time scaling with a startup, something like female founders or teams with female founders are something like 67% more likely to bring successful business outcomes into the startup. Their investors are, they secure something like 65% more success with investors and gain more satisfied investors. Revenues tend to generate at least 10% more revenue than just male-led teams. So statistically, females are way better founders. Women are way stronger founders. And that's definitely something about how we're socialized and how you're brought into all of that, and something about that experience. So it's actually really, really disappointing whenever you then see the flip side of that and see women getting less investment and less opportunities than male counterparts. Because a lot of rooms that you go into are a bit of a boys' club, and I've recently called that out in some organisations that I've experienced, in some organisations that I've worked with. And this is the thing, being like in some situations quite male presenting. I'll show up in a suit and I'll show up very, and I would have some male mannerisms for sure. You can see the dynamic change where it's like, oh, if I was, I don't know how I was going to interact with you, but now you've been assertive and you're acting in a kind of male-dominated way. That's changed my approach. And it's really disappointing sometimes whenever you see some of the behaviours. But statistically, we're better at it. Like, we're way better at it. And it is definitely, I think it's built in. And even, but in terms of crisis management and things like that, those are the opportunities where women are most vastly propelled into positions of power, because it's recognized that women are better at grabbing the reins and just sorting something out. But also, again, that's unfortunately a position where women are often set up to fail, because yes, we come in and manage a crisis and we'll do amazing, get everything back on track, but actually it's not as good as it was beforehand because we came in during a crisis. And so there's this nearly double-edged sword about, yes, we're better at it, but yes, we're often given less opportunities. But yes, we can manage something way better than the original outcomes would be in a crisis, but actually it still won't be good as it was before a crisis because there's been a crisis and we've managed it. So there's this real double-edged sword going on, and all I can say is, in these situations, go into the male-dominated spaces and be a wrecking ball. Like, absolutely challenge those preconceptions. Just be the wrecking ball, be there and totally be unashamed about it. There can be this thing in certain female-led spaces that I've been in where it nearly turns into a competition.
Yeah.
I don't know if you find the same, where it's like, oh, there's only 2 women in the room and I'm putting you in one group, and no, this is the girls' club and this is the boys' club, and yeah, off you go. And it's like, no, I'm being part of the club. I'm not playing this game. And especially whenever you see women in positions of significant power, there can be great chat sometimes. But yes, of course I support women, and you know what I mean, I want to be there, and you know, I've got this far, but you need to play by the boys' rules. And it's like, that sounds like some real internalized misogyny to me. I refuse to do that, and I'm not going to lie. Sometimes that hasn't worked out well, but overall I would say that it has. And 100% go in and be the wrecking ball, because statistically we're better at it. So
There's the wrecking ball and there's the building up. I mean, I feel that you're doing a lot in this space to try and enable women to see the future can involve them doing the things they want to do.
Yeah.
And it's hard sometimes to see it when you look at the traditional kind of hero kind of idea of an entrepreneur being this white male, but that there are so many other opportunities for people who aren't those things, those characteristics.
I think it's important that as women, we not only change the narrative, but also control the narrative. So we do have typical male-dominated industries, especially like entrepreneurship. And when I go into classrooms and say to young people, name entrepreneurs, I get Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they're the top ones. top 3, you'll get them. And then there's new ones coming up too. So Mr. Beast, he's the new one coming up. And KSI, who made Prime. I mean, I learned from these young people because I was like, who's KSI? And they're like, he made Prime. But something that, so when I get those 5 names, not one female entrepreneur is named. And some of these classrooms have lots of young girls in them. So as women, it's also important that you talk about and we talk about the female entrepreneurs that we know and we recognize. So I'll say to these young children, what about Rihanna? And they'll say, Rihanna? I'm like, yeah, Rihanna's an entrepreneur. And they're like, all right. And I'm like, yeah, she's got Fenty makeup. What about Kylie Jenner? What about Molly May? And I'll say, but particularly Rihanna and Kylie Jenner, I was like, because they're really special. They bought businesses called unicorns, and many unicorns don't exist, which means that they're billion-dollar companies. And you should see the girls, their eyes light up, because I'm like, they're on par with Elon Musk. And although Elon Musk is now a trillionaire, but these other businesses, and it's recognizing that women are doing amazing things and we're creating. I think the other thing is not only are we recognizing what needs, I mean, Rihanna with Fenty makeup, she's recognized that there's a wide spectrum of skin color, and that's what she's done. She's targeted, but her red lipstick seems to suit every shade and like every person on that spectrum. But it's also recognizing and solving a problem. That's women are good at identifying a specific problem and solving it in a way that's just innovative. And as you said, along the way, she's been a wrecking ball and said, I'm doing it my way and this is how it's done and I'm going to create a unicorn. And I think raise the profile of women. I say to everyone, at least name 5. Have 5 female entrepreneurs that you can name when you're having conversations. And if someone says, oh, look at what Elon Musk has done, then think and say, oh, but Sheryl Sandberg was the COO of Facebook and look what she's done for Facebook. So start thinking about women that we can be talking about and raising. And I think that's where we'll change how society is.
That sounds like a good rallying cry on which to end. So I just want to take a moment and thank you to all of our panel speakers here. And please do, if you have individual questions that you think, now having heard their expertise, that they can help you with, I'm sure they'd be happy to have a little chat with you after we've finished recording here. But for the moment, I'd just like to thank you all for joining us, and we'll conclude the podcast section of the event here.
Okay.